A very good morning, my dear students of class 11th. At present, we are studying the chapter 3, Quality, by John Galsworthy. Here, students, you know that the narrator, being an artist himself, is empathetic, considerate, and affectionate towards Gessler brothers. He is full of praise for the sincere hard work put in by Gessler's brothers in making boots using the best leather and keeping in mind the requirements and comforts of their customers. He feels concerned on the plight of the Gessler's brothers who suffer slow starvation, being unable to keep pace with the changing times of public interest or times of advertisement or publicity. He wishes the Gesslers were more advanced and survived the harsh times of competition to keep their art alive. The narrator himself is fond of the best quality of shoes. Once he orders Russia leather to be used for his boots. The narrator orders Russia leathers to be used for his boots. He is so generous that he orders more pairs of shoes made to help the Gessler brothers financially. He is sad to learn that the Gesslers died soon after complying with his order. He learns only after he has dispatched the bill. He laments that their shop has been occupied by a new person catering to the royal family and big persons. Here what happens, you see, line number 30. Here, page number 28, please open. Once only, I went absent-mindedly into his shop in a pair of boots bought in an emergency at some large firms. The narrator went absent-mindedly into his shop in a pair of boots bought in an emergency at some large firms. He took my order without showing me. Gessler brother took my order without showing me any leather, and I could feel his eyes penetrating, studying deeply the inferior integument, the inferior outer skin of my foot. At last he said, "Those are not my boots." The narrator purchased the boot from another shop, another firm, another company. When he entered in Gessler's shop, the narrator felt that Gessler's eyes penetrating the inferior outer skin of his foot and said, "Those are not my boots." Means these boots are not from my shop. The tone was not one of anger. He was not in angry mood. The tone was not one of anger, nor of sorrow, not even of contempt, disrespect. But there was in it something quiet that froze the blood. I was shocked. There was something in it. He showed not any anger, not sorrow, not even any disrespect, but there was something. The narrator felt that there was something quiet that the blood of the narrator frozen. He put his hand down and pressed a finger on the place where the left boot, endeavoring, making effort to be fashionable, was not quite comfortable. He put his hand down and pressed a finger on the place where the left foot, he making an effort to be fashionable, was not quite comfortable. It was fashionable. The shoes were fashionable but not quite comfortable. It hurts you, dear. Here means it hurts you here, he said. Those big worms have no self-respect. He said that those big firms have no self-respect. They do not make the shoes comfortable and durable. And then, as if something had given away within him, he spoke long and bitterly. It was the only time I ever heard him discuss the conditions and hardships of his trade. That was the first time. They get it all, he said. They get it by advertisement, not by work. They get it, he said. He said, these firms do not make boots comfortable and durable. Only they advertise and get fame and name. They do not work. They take it away from us who love of bloods. They take it away from us. The customers have taken away by these firms, these companies. I have no work. Every year it gets less, you will see. The Gessler brother told his pain, his suffering before the narrator. The big companies have taken our shops, our customers. I had never noticed before bitter things and bitter struggle, and what a lot of grey hairs there seemed suddenly in his red beard. They have become very old, became very thin and bony. The days of starvation had started. As best as I could, when the narrator knew their financial status, what did he do, you see? As best as I could, I explained the circumstances of the purchase of those ill-omened boots. Actually, the narrator did not want to purchase the book, but due to circumstances, he went to the other shop and purchased those boots. But his face and voice made so deep impression that during the next few minutes I ordered many pairs When, as the narrator was very generous, he is so generous that he orders more pairs of shoes made to help the Gessler brothers financially strong. As he is sad to learn that the Gesslers died soon after complying with his order. But his face and voice made so deep impression, his face, Gessler brother's face, that the narrator ordered many pairs. Nemesis fell. Punishment that one deserves and can't be avoided. Nemesis fell. They lasted more terribly than ever. And I was not able conscientiously to go to him for near 2 years with conscience. And I was not able with conscience to go to him for nearly 2 years. The narrator went to the shop after 2 years, the shop of the Gessler brothers. When at last I went, I was surprised to find that outside, when the narrator went, he was surprised to find that outside one of the 2 little windows of his shop, another name was painted. Gessler brothers' name was removed from there. Also that of a bootmaker, making of course for the royal family. The old familiar boots, no longer in dignified isolation, detached separation, were huddled in the single window. The 2 shops became one shop. Inside the now constructed well of the one little shop was more scented and darker than ever. There were 2 shops, now become one shop. And it was longer than usual too before a face peered down and the tip-tap of the bar slipper began. Gessler brothers came down. At last he stood before me and gazing through those rusty iron spectacles and said, "Mister, isn't it?" "Ah, Mr. Gessler," I stammered, "but your boots are really too good, you know. See, these are quite decent still." He appreciated the boots, and I stretched out to him my foot. He looked at it. "Yes," he said, "people do not want good boots, it seems." He was helpless. Gessler brothers told his worries, his obligations to the narrator. To get away from his reproachful eyes and voice, I hastily remarked, "What have you done to your shop?" To get away from the criticism, eyes expressing blame and voice, I hastily remarked, "What have you done to your shop?" He answered quietly, "It was too expensive and there was no customer. It was too expensive. Do you want some boots?" He immediately asked. The Gessler brothers asked, "Do you want some boots?" I ordered 3 pairs, though I had only wanted 2, and quickly left. The narrator ordered 3 pairs, though he wanted only 2, and quickly left. I do not know quite what feelings are being part in his mind of a conspiracy against him, or not perhaps so much against him as against his idea of boot. One does not, I suppose, care to feel like that. It was again many months before my next visit to his shop, paid, I remember, with the feeling, "Oh, well, I can't leave the old boy So here goes, perhaps it will be his elder brother. After a long time, the narrator went there, but find that probably his elder brother was not available there in the shop. Probably he was no more. So here goes, perhaps it will be his elder brother. He made an idea and he anticipated. For his elder brother I knew had not character enough to reproach me even dumbly. For his elder brother, I knew, the narrator knew, had not character enough to reproach me, to criticize me even dumbly. And to my relief in the shop, there did appear to be his elder brother handling a piece of leather. Elder brother was alive. Well, Mr. Gessler, I said, how are you? He came close and peered at me, looked at me. I am very well, he said slowly, but my elder brother is dead. Both are alike, students. The narrator thought that his elder brother has passed away, but here he was. When he met at the shop, the younger said that my elder brother is dead. And what happened after that, you will study in my next video. Thank you so much.